Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. I'm going to do a video about the Sorare Global Cup free competition contest that's starting here when the World Cup starts in just a couple days. I'm going to go through this video quickly and give you the actual three lineups, three completely different lineups that I like right off the bat. And then I'm going to go in depth more on the various players, teams, and the makeup of the lineups. But if you want, I'm going to give you the teams here right off the bat, basically. Now, I am a Yank, but I have followed European football for quite some time, the English Premier League, the Champions League, the World Cup, etc. Also, I've played Sorare for quite some time, including the NBA and MLB, and cashed out in both of those. Also, I'm successful in American football, DraftKings Rainmakers, which is an NFT game very similar to Sorare, as well as daily fantasy sports. So let me just jump right into it. And I apologize if I mispronounce any players' names. And the odds I'm using for various things are from DraftKings Sportsbook, which is a large firm. However, the odds are American-based odds, which means lower numbers are equal higher probability or favorites. First, I want to give some principles that I think can come into play. Here's my referral code, which will be in the comments. Feel free to comment, like, view, and subscribe if you enjoy this. First, I'll give principles, then I'll give you straight up three lineups, and then I'll go in depth about the lineups. So what I think are the key principles: you want to finish in the top 20,000 or preferably the top 10,000 in match day one, because the top 20,000, and I'm sorry, I'm going to assume that you know about Sorare and are interested in it. If you're not, please use my referral code and go there. I'm going to assume that the viewers of this are aware of the Sorare Global Cup competition and how Sorare works, etc., etc. Although I will go over some of that at the end if you stay all the way to the end and want some more of the basics. Okay, finish top 20,000, you receive a Tier 1 national card. Finish top 10,000, you receive a Star national card tier. And that's just for match day one alone. So these will help you build your team up very strongly. Now, there are 200,000 plus entrants already into this, so you're looking at top 10% or higher finish. Obviously, you want players that will score high points, particularly in the first game, which is part of match day one. You want players and teams that are likely to advance past the group stage in the tournament. You also want players who are correlated, aka stacked, from the same team in general. That will benefit you and give you an edge if those teams do well. Now, one thing to keep in mind in the third game down the road, you want to be careful of players who may be rested, subbed out early, or rotated out, particularly if their teams get 6 points from the first two games and have clinched a spot in the next round, or even clinched first place, basically, on goal differential. Obviously, you want teams that are likely to advance far in the tournament, including as far as the semis and finals, because this is going to require less adjustments as you go along, although there will be additions to your team after when the quarterfinals begin, and you will get cards along the way to boost your team. You want to have key starters, and on your bench, it would be good to have likely or possible starters and subs. Number 8, I forget what 8th was for. If you understand that reference, please put a comment in. Number 9, you would like to have depth in case of injuries or unexpected team collapses and early fallouts from the tournament, which we've seen with big name teams previously, such as France and many others. And obviously, you would like star players who can be leading point getters in the tourney and for the first match day. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and show you the three unique lineups. Obviously, on a Sorare account, you can only put in one lineup, but you may have friends who have their own accounts, family members, etc. And I'll give you three lineups that I came up with, but then I'm going to go in depth on the lineups and teams because I used a pretty analytical approach to this, and I have a lot of data to show. And again, I apologize if I mispronounce any names. Team 1 might be called the sexiest team. It's comprised of 2 Netherlands, 2 Argentina, a Brazil, 2 Poland, and then the cheapest possible goalkeeper. Netherlands defense stack, Bilo and Dumfries. Argentina stack, Di Maria and Messi. Neymar from Brazil. Poland stack, Cash defenseman, Sebastian Szymanski extra. So there you have a midfielder and a forward extra. And there's two Szymanskis in the So Rare card pool, so be careful which one you get. And I'm going to go in depth with alternatives you can use on these as well for certain things. The second team is sort of England, France, and USA, Portugal. Can be a fun team if you are a fan of England and France, or if you fancy those teams to go really far. Also the USA. So this one, Portugal defense stack, Costa and Cancelo. England, Saka and Maddison. I'll show alternatives as well for those. France, Mbappe and Griezmann. USA, Horvath, goalkeeper, Yedlin, defense. Then you got so midfield and forward there. Third team, this has guarantees down the road, which I'll explain when I go more in depth on this team. Guarantees of advancing past a certain point. Guarantees, because of the way groups and matchups are set up and knockout rounds. So this one is a Germany, Belgium, Spain, and Croatia stack. Germany defense, Neuer and Rudiger. Belgium, De Bruyne and Hazard. Spain, Morata and Sarabia. Again, if I mispronounce any players' names, I apologize. And Croatia, Livakovic and Juranovic. Okay, so let me go in more in depth on these teams and what some of the breakdowns go into here. Okay, so we can start with what we call the sexy team. The sexy, why I say that is because this team, you can fit Messi, Neymar, and Di Maria in it. Okay? Obviously, these are probably the two most popular names that people are going to go with, along with Mbappe and a few others. You're also getting two of the favorites, 3 players from 2 of the favorites for the tournament. So this is stacked 2 Argentina, 2 Netherlands, 1 Brazil, and 2 Poland. The groups these are from are Group C, A, G, C. The odds of these teams to win their group, green means very strong relative to all the teams. Argentina minus 250, Netherlands minus 280, Brazil minus 300. The odds to qualify from their group for the knockout stages, so very extremely high for those 3 teams, moderate for Poland. 6 points from the first 2 games. This comes into play with possible, aka likely, resting players the 3rd game. And this is a combination of just the flat out win odds from DraftKings, not draw or loss, just the flat out win for the first 2 games combined. Argentina is the highest in the tournament by a fairly large margin, which, if it does play out that way, there's a decent possibility they may be resting or only, rotating out or giving limited minutes or flat out not playing certain players. And that could come into play for Messi, Di Maria, and other Argentinian players. Something to keep in mind. And this would be for like the 3rd match day level of the So Rare competition. Netherlands and Brazil, fairly decent favorites combined, but yellow meaning average with some of the top teams. The knockout round group opponents for their group are D, B, H, and D. The odds of these teams reaching the semifinals, Argentina and Brazil are the 2 favorites and the 2 favorites to win the tournament. You can see the other odds here. I actually show all the odds for the teams, which I'll get to after I break down the teams. So this allows you to have 2 Argentina and Neymar, Messi, and Di Maria in your starting lineup, and then the Netherlands defense. The Netherlands goalkeeper is cheap, which other people have mentioned. The only other goalkeeper that might be likely to start would be Pasveer. He costs the same. He only has 2 caps, and he's very old. So people seem to think Bilo, if that's how you pronounce it, is going to start, and he is cheap. This shows their goals and caps. Okay, So you can see here the astronomical goals and caps of Messi and Neymar, in addition to Di Maria. Now, the defenseman Dumfries, he's listed a defenseman from Netherlands, fits this lineup the best at a 14 cost. You're going to want to check projections of who and maybe announcements as they get closer of who is going to start before the contest starts. From what I've seen, he is projected to start and possibly have more of a midfielder type role. And he actually has a decent strike rate with Netherlands, just on flat-out goals. Now, the more famous Netherlands defenders are obviously like Van Dijk and Blind or Blind, De Ligt, De Vrij, Ake, Timber. All of these guys are projected to start on one of two or three pretty big websites like Goal.com, Guardian, Sporting News. So we don't really know for a fact which of these. Obviously, he will. He's more expensive though. But all of these players have caps, a decent amount of caps, except for maybe Timber. And the formations that they may go with may have some of these players playing wing, midfield type things, wing backs. So it remains to be seen. But you could alternate some of these out and make adjustments if you're saying, I have to have Van Dijk in there, for example. But this is the one I think works out best. I included two Poland here because Poland is actually tied with Mexico, basically, to qualify from Group C, behind Argentina. So you could swap out the Mexico players I have here for Poland. I didn't list any, but you could find them. These two were tipped from a person I saw who had done extremely well in a previous Sorare larger tournament format like this. And he tipped these two, Cash and Sebastian Szymanski. Now, in this one, I'm using the cheapest goalkeeper possible, which is currently showing only one, but yesterday it showed Tunisia goalies on there as well. So I'm not sure if they're still adjusting some of these prices. But right now it only shows this man. He's 19 years old, so unless they want to give him a debut in the third game or something, he's probably not going to play. So that one's just the only one. But he is projected to start. He may start. You could swap out. There's multiple other Poland defenders who cost around 6. So if you could go through those and research and swap another one out there, this is your midfielder because Neymar is a forward. Now, DraftKings has odds to score a goal first match, and obviously goals are going to get you a ton of points in Sorare. Messi and a few other players that on these teams I'm showing you are actually negative odds, which meaning they're below even money to score. They're highly rated to score a goal in the first game. Neymar actually isn't below even money, but he's low, as you can see, and Di Maria is low. And even Dumfries is not that low, and Szymanski. So the bookmaker that DraftKings Sportsbook is showing those as fairly decent odds to score a goal in the first game. Now, they also have top goal scorer odds for the tournament and most assist odds for the tournament. They don't have, obviously, Sorare projections for these players, but here's data I'm looking at. Top goal scorer odds, Messi and Neymar are both tied for third overall. I think it's actually Mbappe and Kane that are 1 and 2 in this sportsbook's odds. So they're very, very high. Di Maria is on there lower. But also in assists, Messi is best odds, lowest. Neymar is second. And even Di Maria is 8th. So you're really getting potentially 3 very strong players, and obviously 2 of the top ones. And then you're getting a Netherlands defense, which is sort of undervalued price-wise, that is projected with pretty good odds to go far in the tournament. So you could, here's just a couple things of note. I mentioned these other defenders, okay? And in particular, ones that are around the price of Dumfries if you wanted to go with a different one, or you could cut costs and go with Van Dijk or Blind. And again, keep an eye to make sure this goalie is starting. You could swap out Di Maria for another midfielder or look up to free up points with a cheaper midfielder. And again, Mexico is slightly favored, barely over Poland to advance from this group. I would fancy Poland, but if you wanted to, there are plenty of players you could look for those two spots. And again, you could swap out for cash. And you could also free up, if you do free up points, you could look for a goalkeeper who is 6 or 7 points, who is a likely second choice backup, who may actually play or maybe more likely of playing, including teams that have goalkeepers who are banged up. All right, let me go on to the second team. This is the Portugal. I call this the fun team, but it's France, Portugal, England, and USA. This is all stacked, 2-2-2-2. But the orange means they're not really the starters, okay? France is from Group D, Portugal's H. England and USA are Group B. USA is slightly favored over Wales to advance out of the group. You could swap, if you like Wales better, you could swap out the Wales players for USA on this. And then I show you a couple options here. You have to work it out with the prices. Odds of winning their particular group, England and France, pretty low odds. Odds of qualifying out of the group, France and England, very low odds, or good odds. Now we get to the 6 points from the first two games. France and England, fairly high chance, but not the extreme that Argentina is of the relative basis. Portugal, not that great a chance. So that means they're relative to some of the other considered good teams, they're more likely to be playing their top players in the third game, USA. The group opponents in the knockout round, D versus C, H versus G, B versus A, B versus A. The odds to reach the semifinals, France 150, England 175, Portugal 275. The odds to reach the finals, France is the third favorite to reach the finals behind Brazil and Argentina, and England is tied for the fourth favorite. Portugal is the eighth favorite. So you're getting strong teams here in all these groups. So here, using the Portugal goalkeeper defense stack, I've seen this is going to be a very popular stack, as the Netherlands may be as well for defense. A lot of people are mentioning this one. They like Cancelo, and Portugal's goalkeeper is reasonable. Here I'm using the France attack force of Mbappe and Griezmann. Griezmann is sort of a talisman for France. He does very well for the national team. Mbappe is considered one of the top players in the world, most hyped players, etc. So you're getting that. Now the England selections, there's alternatives that I list down here. I'm looking at Saka at 14, listed as a midfielder, and Maddison actually at 9 as the extra. And yellow means they're not really your main starter. You might sub them in if they are starting. Here, this is a flat 5 starters. Unless something happens, you may have to go with one of those. But there is a possibility if Maddison's starting a game and you know it, that you may swap him in on this one, and he's very cheap. The backups, USA, that's their second backup goalkeeper. Their backup goalkeeper and the main goalkeeper is a little banged up. Defenseman Yedlin, very experienced national team player, one of the leaders, so-called of the team. However, he probably won't be starting or may not be starting. There's other alternatives there that are all around the same price, who are all expected to get playing time. Here's their caps and goals. And it's uncertain. Long may start, Yedlin may start, even these guys may start. And I will say that USA in general over history tends to rotate players from game to game, even a little more in international competitions than do some other teams. So it's possible these guys may start. But if you have one you prefer, I would say Yedlin. He also is an attacking fullback type. So the odds, and you can see their caps and goals. Mbappe's got an incredible strike rate, but Griezmann's got a good one too. Saka, not as much so far. However, he's been great for Arsenal this year. I go through some of the other England players, and you can see Cancelo has one for a defenseman, although he may be playing as a midfielder type, which is some reason for that. Odds to score a game the first match, Mbappe is below even money, which is very, very high. This should have actually been yellow. But Saka also, notice that 210. That's one of those, and Madison. Now, for some reason, this sportsbook has Madison there. I know it's maybe because he's an incredible free kick taker. Also, with Saka, he may be taking a penalty. He's been taking them sometimes for Arsenal, even though he had a heartbreaking miss in the Euro Cup. Southgate may throw him out there again, so that may be contributing to that. Set pieces in general, being on the receiving end, or, on the delivery end, will obviously contribute to points. And Cancelo is actually fairly low. So if you look here, you have 5 players at 500 or less, 3 real low ones. To score a goal, here you have 3. You have 4 low ones, and then 5. But that's assuming Madison gets in there somehow, which you probably wouldn't start both those. Top goal scorer odds for the whole tournament. Mbappe is second currently. Harry Kane is actually first by this sports book. But Mbappe is also fifth in probability odds of most assists. Griezmann's fairly low there, decent there. Madison, again, fairly low in most assists. So they're looking, the odds are that at this sports book are indicating some play for Madison in this tournament for England. And of course, he is like a set piece specialist. Saka doesn't have very high goal scoring odds. He actually has decent most assist odds, better than Griezmann. So note that. So if you're going to swap Wales for the U.S. in this one, because this way you're getting both the teams that will advance, because England is going to advance, and then either USA or Wales are going to advance. So you're going to have more players alive going forward, or sort of guaranteed players to be alive, or teams going forward as we go along with it. Hennessy looks like the starting goalkeeper for Wales, but of course, check these. Nothing is guaranteed with any of these. He only costs 9, and he's had 106 caps. Of course, Horvath is 6, so you're going to have to make adjustments there. Defensemen, I haven't researched which. I've seen mention of all of these, but here's 4 Wales defensemen that all cost 6. Roberts, is it Metham, Lockyer, and Kabongo? And you can see their caps there. Roberts 41 with 3 goals, 33, 14, and 5. You may want to do more research, or you may know if you did want to swap one of those in, who may be possibly starting or who would be a key sub and getting playing time if you did want to put Wales in for the U.S. Now, with England, you may be, okay, so I'm sorry, I mentioned the USA defensive alternatives as well for Yedlin. So for England, you may be cringing at the Saka and Madison. Harry Kane's extremely expensive. You're going to have to put him as, a top line guy if you're going to use him. Now, the point with Madison and Saka is they're midfielders, because Griezmann and Mbappe are forwards. So you're going to want 2. You need 2 midfielders. Now, Wilson is very cheap. I don't think he will start. I've just put him on there. He's a forward, 4-1. He may start. You may have opinions. Sterling also, however, he's a forward again. He only costs 13, and he's had a good strike rate. Rashford is not in this game. I guess he's not licensed to Sorare. He's not in this competition. Grealish, I don't think will start. He's 13 also. So then you come to Foden and Mount, and Saka and Madison. Mount is the same cost as Saka. He's actually 1 cheaper. He's at a similar kind of strike rate and caps. Foden has been, obviously playing fantastic. How much of that is from Man City itself and their system? How will he do for the national team in the World Cup? And he is more expensive. And his, national team record isn't really any better than those. But you could swap those in, or if you think Grealish is going to start or be a very, very key sub, if you think Mount's going to start over Saka type thing, if you don't think Madison's going to play much, these are some alternatives that I just wanted to present to you. I could see somebody going for Mount over Saka. Mount does score, for Chelsea. At times he gets very hot. Foden's obviously been putting up great numbers. Saka has been putting up great numbers, and Grealish is a very talented player who may get set piece opportunities, etc. Some of that's for you to determine, but here's the one I came up with. The third lineup. Now this one is trickier, or more strategic, you could say, because this is comprised of all teams from 2 groups: Germany, Spain, Belgium, and Croatia. Now, these teams match up in the knockout round. These groups match up in the knockout round. So assuming that Germany, Spain, Belgium, and Croatia go through, which they are the favorites from their groups, okay, to finish first or second, you are guaranteed that 2 of these teams and 4 players in your lineup are virtually guaranteed to be in the quarterfinals and on opposite sides of the bracket. So this gives you guarantees or stability of things going forward, having players available that have, that are going to be on good teams. Okay, so the lineup I chose here was a Germany defense, Neuer, Neuer, and Rudiger. You can research other German defenders that you may want to put in there. Belgium, De Bruyne, and Hazard. He's a forward. Spain, Morata, striker. Sarabia, I apologize if I pronounce this. He's listed as a midfielder for Spain. Croatia, Livakovic, goalkeeper. Juranovic, defense. You obviously want to check starters. Hazard is the captain for Belgium. He's a big name player, hasn't played this year, but he's the kind of player who could turn up in a tournament like this. Other people are tipping him. It's a showcase for him. De Bruyne is obviously one of the top players in the world. Now the Germany team, their strike force or their attackers, there's not any particular ones that are highly favored to get goals, so they may fit in well defensively. And look how experienced this team is. 114 caps, 54 caps, 24 caps with 9 goals, 57 caps with 27 goals, 93 caps with 25 goals, 34 caps, 21, 122 caps with 33 goals. So you're getting proven internationals here on some teams that are historically, very strong in tournaments. Germany and Spain among them. Belgium, widely tipped, very talented. Just to go through those, I'm sorry, let me go through the teams real quick. Odds to win the group, Belgium is actually the best favored because Germany and Spain are in the same group. They're highly favored. Qualify from the group, these 3 are very high to qualify. 6 points from the first 2 games. Spain and Belgium, decent possibility that happens. Now, Germany is actually not because of the way it's set up. They have their easiest game third. So that's actually surprising. That might be one in general to consider, that Germany is one of the big name teams least likely to be resting players in the third game by that, using that logic. And again, both these groups are going to meet up. So you're basically guaranteed that 4 players are going to be in the quarterfinals. Odds to reach the semis, Spain is pretty low, is one of the lowest. Also Germany and Belgium. Odds to reach the finals, Spain is 4th. Germany is 6th. Belgium is 9th, so you're getting 3 top 9 teams there projected to go very, very far in the tournament. Now, odds to score a goal the first match. Now, I'm not that familiar with the Spain and the Argentina teams, to be honest, and so I may also get some of the pronunciations wrong. But for my research, Sarabia will be starting, and he is listed as a midfielder now, and Hazard. So this team basically has 6 starters, you could say. And what I was looking at was possibly that you could start Sarabia first game and then Hazard second game, and that's based on matchups. And also that will, you could see if Hazard actually is playing and playing well, or if he's super rusty and out of form. You can also see with the odds to score a goal in the first match, Morata is very, very low. He's with guys like Mbappe and Messi. Okay, he's one of the only ones that are even money or less to score a goal in the first match. But Sarabia, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name, or Sarabia, is also low. De Bruyne is low. Hazard is low. Top's goal scorer odds in the tournament, Morata is 10th. And again, he is cheap, 13. People do not favor him that much. And he's not what's the word, like a sexy name. And he's not particularly high priced in this, but he is projected as the leading striker for Spain. They have a young team this time around. There's a shift going on, a generational shift, which is another reason people aren't fancying to some degree Spain and Germany quite as much. But they have talent, folks, and those teams have track record, particularly Germany being an extremely consistent tournament World Cup team. Hazard, decent odds there, or is in the mix there a little bit. Sarabia and De Bruyne. De Bruyne, of course, one of the best players in the world. Probably if I had to pick one player to start a team, not worrying about age, he would be one of my top choices. And I'm a Chelsea fan, so I'm really sad that Chelsea had him and didn't even give him a chance back in the day when he was young. That was Mourinho, and I think not giving him a chance. He's third highest odds to be the most assists in the tournament. Of course, a great set piece taker. Also, Sarabia again. The two Croatian players are projected to start from my analysis. The goalkeeper and the defenseman. Look at they have good caps, so that can give you depth, because you never know with injuries and everything else. And also, suppose Croatia does make it to the quarters, along with one of these other teams, you've got two key players right there. We've seen all kinds of things happen in World Cups, especially sometimes ones that aren't located in Europe or South America. I feel like the little more exotic locations, sometimes more unpredictable things happen. Also, remember with the resting players in the third game, as I mentioned, that this is in the middle of the season for Europe, so players are a bit tired and banged up. Some of them, and the coaches are aware of this, and the players and their agents are aware of this, so they may say, hey, we've already qualified, don't play me in that third game, type of thing. Now, also, again, here's my referral code. I just wanted to also show you, and like I said, feel free to like, comment, criticize. I know I'm a Yank. I know you might disagree with me on some things. I just wanted to show real quick the odds from DraftKings and sort of like the way the chalk will play out if the favorites all come in every particular group and game. So the odds to reach the semis, starting from lowest, Brazil, there's sort of a big nine. There's a big 9 teams. There's a big 9 teams, and there's actually a big 10 teams when it comes to winning it on the current odds. The big 9 starting in most likely Brazil, Argentina, France, England, Spain, Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, and Portugal. Odds to reach the final game: Brazil, Argentina, France, England, Spain, Germany, Netherlands, Portugal, and Belgium. So Portugal slightly flipped over Belgium there. England and Spain again tied there. Odds to win the World Cup currently by this DraftKings Sportsbook: Brazil, fairly big favorite of the others. Argentina, little gap there to France, Spain, England, Germany, Netherlands, Portugal, Belgium, and actually Denmark. And then there's quite a gap after that, or a bigger gap. So here is the bracket of the World Cup. In America, we're very familiar with brackets, especially from college basketball. There's sort of a newer thing in Europe, I think, for soccer, football and soccer. People aren't. But nonetheless, the World Cup, once it gets to the round of 16 and the knockout phase, it is a bracket. So, a group, the winner of one group is already lined up to play the second place of another group, and vice versa. So this is all known. The teams are not known. So what I plugged in here is the favorite of each group and the second favorite of each group. And this is how it play out. And then we go to the better odds of advancing from the quarterfinals, better odds of advancing, etc. So this is using all bookmaker odds. This is what I would call the chalk. If it all works out as the odds are showing, it'll be Netherlands, United States, Argentina, Denmark in the same bracket, Germany, Croatia, Brazil, Uruguay, England, Senegal, France, Mexico, Belgium, Spain, that's a whopper of a quarterfinal game, and Portugal, Switzerland. From there, we would be looking at in the quarterfinals, Netherlands, Argentina, Germany, Brazil. That'll get some ratings. England, France. That would be pretty iconic, but I'd be a little worried about England going out on penalties again. And I'm a pretty big England fan, and then Spain, Portugal, which would be another big game. Out of that would come Argentina, Brazil. So note here that if Argentina and Brazil both win their group, as they are pretty highly projected to, They are on the same side of the bracket and cannot both make the finals. And hopefully there wouldn't be any collusion between teams, which has occurred in the World Cup, or, like I want to finish second in this group. There is some of that goes on, some tricks sometimes, but not as much as you think. Teams generally want to win and do as good as they can. But if this does play out this way, it cannot be a Brazil-Argentina final. The favorites in those would be France and Spain, with France and Brazil coming out on top, Argentina, Spain in the third place game. That's the chalk. That's what the odds maker is saying. I'll just show you how that works if you haven't entered this yet. So on Sorare.com, again, use my referral code. They have very fun football, soccer contest and a game where you collect cards and build lineups. They also have introduced an NBA one, which is really cool, which just started, and you get free cards for all of these to start off with. And they also have a Major League Baseball one. But this particular contest is called the Global Cup, and it's free entry, and it's for the World Cup. The first round is November 20th to 24th. That is what they call match day 1. It's the first set of games for each team in their group. And there's going to be 7 of these with prizes given out all along the way. Here's the prize set up for the first match day. So, from what I've heard, they haven't announced what players are in the star. The purple ones are players that you can add to your global Cup team as you go along. So these are going to be important to build your team. So optimally, you would want to finish 7,000th or above to get a star player, and hopefully you won't get a duplicate if those are possible. Like you wouldn't get 2 Messis, hopefully. But that's the group that's going to have the star. But down to tier 1 will probably have very good players. From what one an analyst I heard say, and that's 20,000. Now currently there's over 200,000 entrants, so you're looking at needing to finish in the top 10% to get one of those. But either way, you will get a player. It could be a tier 2, it could be a tier 3. You also will get a common for use in regular Sorare. Starting with 5,000 and up, you will get a limited card for use in Sorare, which can be worth lots of money. And if you finish in the top 3, you actually win Ethereum, which, is what, $1,200 there and on up. So nice prizes there. And the nice thing with this, the nice thing with Global Cup is starting off, it doesn't give an advantage to people who have all the money and bought up all the good cards. Everybody gets to make a roster with this $100 budget. Okay, so or 100-point budget. So you got a 100-point budget to fill out 9 spots, or 8 spots. I'm sorry, 2 forward, 2 mid, 2 defensive, 2 goalkeepers. Then you compose a lineup for each game week of a goalkeeper, a defense, a midfield, a forward, and an extra or flex spot. So that generally is going to be a forward or a midfielder. And then it uses Sorare scoring, which is fairly complicated. And you want to get off to a good start. Obviously, that's why a lot of people are going for the biggest of the big names, and then just loading their bench with the cheapest non-players. But I think there's something to be said for slightly upgrading, as I showed you, with some players that give a little depth, give a little bench, but still getting very good players. And additionally, before the round of 16 and before the quarterfinals and before the semifinals, you will be able to add 4 new players to your initial squad. However, I'm not sure if that's salary cap on those or not. I assume it is. I assume it's not like, oh, I'm just going to take the 4 most famous top players. I assume that's a salary cap as well. But that's if you do lose a lot of players. That'll help boost your team with teams that are players from teams that are still alive in the tournament. And I mentioned about so finally, I believe this is the last thing I wanted to cover. Let me just see. Yeah, I went on here pretty long. I really appreciate if you've stayed with me the whole way. And again, I put out videos for DraftKings Rainmakers NFL contest, which I've won good money on this year, and I've done well trading cards. So check those out if you haven't played that game. There's still going to be 8 to 10 game weeks left plus of that, and that's got huge prizes. One contest every week has $100,000 first prize, literally. guaranteed. Anyway, here's the actual win odds for the first and second match of the teams I've used in these lineups, not counting a draw, just straight up win. So you can see Argentina there is the highest by far of these teams, which would mean if they go to form and win both these games, they may be resting or rotating players or not playing players along in the third game. That's just a thing to be aware of with Messi, in my opinion. So that's more comes into play for the third game, the third match day down the road. This is not imminent. Obviously, Brazil, Netherlands, England, France, Portugal, lesser so. Spain, Belgium, Portugal, lesser so. Germany, lesser so. And then, of course, Poland, USA, and Croatia are not really, favored that much, but particularly the USA. We've got Wales, Iran, and then England. And as a Yank, the best scenario would be 4 points probably. I mean, 6 points, but 4 points coming out of those two. In my opinion, then it's going to come down to goal differential with us and Wales. It's really interesting how that group played out, because you almost could not have written a better script. The different script for England possibly would be having Argentina there instead of Iran for drama purposes. For the U.S., possibly swapping out, Wales for like Mexico, but that probably wouldn't even been possible the way the draw's set up. But either way, having England and Wales, and then the United States, this is from the United States perspective particularly, and then Iran, who we've been longtime political rivals with, is a very exciting, neat group to be in, and I'm really hoping the U.S. can emerge. I'm not super optimistic to the group stage, or to the knockout stage, but getting to the knockout stage will be a big accomplishment. I think a lot of it's I think we will beat Iran, and it's going to come down to the Wales game. And, this is on paper one of the most talented USA teams ever, but in reality, they haven't been really playing that way. A lot of young players, though. We have more young players than ever who play for top teams around the world than ever. But some of our older teams that were less talented were more cohesive and less heralded, but they played together more often. They were cohesive. They really had a strong team spirit, going back to the Alexi Lalas type days. England, I think they should be one of the favorites, just like in the Euro Cup. However, penalties, number one. Number two, defense. They have a lot of injuries, and I never rate England goalkeepers high. So unfortunately, for those factors, I'm not backing England to go probably even to the semis. Unfortunately, and like I said, I think it's one of the most talented England teams of all time. But because of injuries on defense, general goalkeeper weakness, and shocking penalty jinxes over and over, including who they choose to take the penalties at times. And that's, for example, I think they should have brought Ivan Toney into the squad. He's been incredibly playing, scoring goals, and he's an incredible penalty taker. He should have been in the squad. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind, and possibly starting. So anyway, that's it. I'm not going to give any more World Cup predictions yet, but hopefully you enjoy the Sorare Global Cup and get your teams in there. And like I said, use my referral code, which will be in the comments. Also, comment, like, and subscribe. I'll be doing future videos on Sorare NBA, and I may be doing on Sorare football and World Cup as we go along. All right, thanks for checking out the video. Have a good one, guys.